Have you ever looked at two photographs taken in exactly the same place and wondered why one feels unforgettable while the other barely holds your attention for more than a second? It isn't always because of the camera. It isn't because one photographer owned a more expensive lens. More often than not, it's because one photographer understood composition. Composition is one of those words photographers use all the time, yet it's rarely explained in a meaningful way. Many people think it's a collection of rules. The rule of thirds, leading lines, framing, symmetry. While those techniques are useful, they aren't what composition really is. Composition is simply the art of deciding what belongs in the photograph and what doesn't. Every time you lift a camera to your eye, you're making hundreds of tiny decisions. Where do you stand? How high should the camera be? Should you move closer? Should you wait for someone to leave the frame? Should you include the tree in the background or let it disappear? Every one of those decisions changes the story your photograph tells. Think of a film director preparing a scene. They don't simply point a camera and hope for the best. Every object, every light, every actor, and every movement is carefully placed to guide your attention. Photography works exactly the same way. The only difference is that you're making all of those decisions in a single frame. The human eye is naturally curious, but it's also easily distracted. If there are 10 interesting things happening in a photograph, the viewer often doesn't know where to look. Their eyes wander without finding a clear subject, and within seconds they move on. Strong composition removes that confusion. It gives the eye a place to begin before inviting it to explore everything else. This is why professional photographers often spend more time moving around than pressing the shutter. They take a few steps to the left. They crouch lower. They climb onto a bench. They wait for the right person to walk into the frame. Sometimes the perfect photograph is already there. They simply haven't found the right position to see it yet. One of the greatest lessons photography teaches is that your feet are often more powerful than your zoom lens. Walking closer changes perspective. Moving higher changes relationships between objects. Taking one step sideways can remove a distracting background or reveal beautiful light that wasn't visible before. The camera hasn't changed. The photographer has. Another mistake beginners often make is trying to include everything. When we visit an incredible location, we want to photograph the mountains, the lake, the trees, the clouds, the people, and the wildlife all in one frame. But photographs become stronger when they are clear about what they're trying to say. Simplicity isn't about removing information. It's about removing distractions. Ask yourself one question before pressing the shutter. What is this photograph actually about? If you can't answer that question in a single sentence, the viewer probably won't be able to answer it either. This is why some of the most powerful photographs ever made are surprisingly simple. A single face, one tree standing alone, a fisherman against the morning mist. They work because every element supports the story instead of competing with it. Here's a simple exercise I'd like you to try. Find a busy scene, perhaps a park, a street corner, or even your own garden. Take one photograph exactly where you're standing, then spend 5 minutes without taking another picture. Walk around, kneel down, move closer, step backwards, change your angle completely. Only then take a second photograph. When you compare the two images later, you'll probably discover that the better photograph wasn't created by changing the camera. It was created by changing the way you saw the scene. Remember this. Cameras record what's in front of them. Photographers decide what deserves to be remembered. That's the real purpose of composition. It's not about following rules. It's about guiding someone's attention and telling a story that can be understood without saying a single word. In our next lesson, we'll look at one of the most famous ideas in photography, the rule of thirds. More importantly, we'll discover why it works, when it doesn't, and why great photographers often break it on purpose.